Something has just changed. And if you are currently receiving the UK state pension or you are approaching pension age, what we are covering in this video today is something you absolutely cannot afford to miss. This is not speculation. This is not a rumour. This is a confirmed, official government-level change that has been signed into law. Something has just changed. And if you are currently receiving the UK state pension or you are approaching pension age, what we are covering in this video today is something you absolutely cannot afford to miss. This is not speculation. This is not a rumour. This is a confirmed, official, government-level change that has been signed into law and will directly affect your payments, your rights, and your financial future starting in 2026. Millions of pensioners across the United Kingdom right now are confused. They are searching online, they are calling DWP helplines, they are asking their family members, what does this new law actually mean for me? Am I going to receive more money? Has anything changed about how my pension is calculated? Do I need to do anything, fill in any forms, make any calls, visit any officers? That is exactly what this video is going to answer, clearly, completely, and without any confusing government jargon. By the time you finish watching, you will know precisely what this new pension law says, what it means in real pounds and pence, and what steps, if any, you need to take. So stay with us right through to the end because some of the most important details come towards the middle and the end of this video. Let us start with the foundation. The UK government has now officially passed new legislation that directly governs how the state pension is calculated, uprated, protected and administered going forward into 2026 and beyond. This is not a temporary policy tweak. This is a structural, legally binding reform that has gone through Parliament, received royal assent and is now the law of the land. The centrepiece of what has changed relates to the triple lock, the mechanism that has been protecting your pension from losing its value against rising prices and wages. For years, the triple lock has guaranteed that the state pension rises each April by whichever is the highest of three measures: the rate of inflation as measured by the Consumer Prices Index, the average earnings growth across the UK workforce, or a guaranteed minimum of 2.5%. This was the promise made to pensioners, and for a long time that promise held firm. What the new law does is this: it formally enshrines and strengthens the triple lock commitment within statute, making it legally harder for any future government to quietly remove or weaken it without a full Act of Parliament. This is significant. Previously, while the triple lock was a policy commitment, it existed largely as a manifesto promise, something that could, in theory, be adjusted through a change in government guidance without primary legislation. That vulnerability has now been addressed. In addition to this, the legislation introduces new protections around pension credit, bereavement support for widowed pensioners, and importantly, it sets out a clearer framework for how DWP must communicate changes to pensioners, meaning you have a legal right to be properly informed of any adjustments that affect your entitlement in writing in good time. Now, before we go any further, let us address the number that is on everyone's mind. The full new state pension rate for 2025 to 2026 is currently £221.20 per week. Under the triple lock calculation that feeds into the new law, and based on the earnings growth figure used for the uprating in April 2026, pensioners on the full new state pension are in line to see a meaningful increase. We will come back to exactly what that means for your weekly and annual income shortly. This is the part where we need to be precise, because not everyone's state pension works the same way. There are currently two main types of state pension operating in the UK, and understanding which one applies to you matters enormously. The first is the new state pension. This applies to men born on or after the 6th of April 1951 and women born on or after the 6th of April 1953. If you reached state pension age on or after the 6th of April 2016, you are on the new state pension system. To receive the full amount, you generally need 35 qualifying years of national insurance contributions. If you have fewer than 35 but at least 10 qualifying years, you receive a proportional amount. The second is the basic state pension, sometimes called the old state pension. This applies to those who reached pension age before April 2016. The full basic state pension currently sits at £169.50 per week. Men in this category needed 30 qualifying years of national insurance contributions for the full amount, and women had varying requirements depending on when they were born. The new law and its protections apply to both groups. However, the uprating percentages do differ slightly depending on which system you are on, because the mechanisms that feed into each calculation have some technical differences. What is the same for both is the legal commitment that your pension will continue to be protected from inflation eating away at its value in real terms. Now, here is something critically important that far too many pensioners do not know about, and this could mean thousands of pounds for some of you watching right now. If you are not currently receiving the full state pension amount you are entitled to, the new legislation has also put fresh pressure on DWP to identify and correct historical underpayments. This underpayment issue has been an ongoing scandal in the UK pension system. It particularly affected married women, widows, and those over 80 who were entitled to increases based on their spouse's national insurance record but never received them. DWP has been running a correction exercise, but the scale of the problem means many people are still waiting. Under the new rules, there are clearer timelines and accountability measures placed on the Department for Work and Pensions to resolve outstanding cases. If you believe you may have been underpaid, particularly if you are a woman who was married before 1977 or a widow or someone over 80, we will tell you exactly what to do at the end of this video. Let us talk real numbers now, because this is what matters most to you in your day-to-day life. The April 2026 uplating, which feeds from the new legislative framework, is based on the earnings growth figure from the most recent qualifying period. Earnings growth came in above inflation, which means the triple lock calculation favoured the earnings figure. This translates into a pension increase of approximately 4.1% for the 2026 to 2027 tax year, though the final confirmed government figure should always be verified against the official DWP uprating announcement. What does that mean in practice? If you are on the full new state pension at the current rate of £221.20 per week, a 4.1% increase would bring that to approximately £230.27 per week. Over the course of a full year, that is an annual pension income of roughly £11,974. That is a real increase of over £470 per year compared to what you were receiving before April 2026. For a couple where both partners receive the full new state pension, the combined annual increase would be over £940. If you are on the basic state pension at £169.50 per week, applying the same percentage would take your weekly pension to approximately £176.46. That is an additional £362 per year in your pocket. Now here is a figure that catches many people by surprise. If you have been deferring your state pension, that is, you were eligible to claim it but chose to delay, the deferred pension increases by the equivalent of 1% for every 9 weeks you defer, which works out at just under 5.8% for every year of deferral. Under the new legislative framework, this deferral system remains intact and is now also given greater statutory protection, meaning the government cannot quietly reduce the deferral bonus rate without going through Parliament. And what about pension credit? This is a benefit specifically for lower-income pensioners, and it is one of the most underclaimed benefits in the entire UK welfare system. It is estimated that around 800,000 pensioners who are entitled to pension credit are not claiming it. This is leaving collectively hundreds of millions of pounds unclaimed each year. Pension credit tops up your weekly income to a guaranteed minimum, currently £218.15 per week for a single person and £332.95 for couples. That minimum is also uprated under the new law. Claiming pension credit can also unlock entitlement to other help, including housing benefit, council tax reduction, a free TV licence if you are over 75, and cold weather payments. It is worth stepping back for a moment and understanding why this legislative change is being described by pension experts and advocacy groups as genuinely significant, not just as another annual uprating exercise. For years, there has been growing anxiety in the pensioner community about the future of the triple lock. Every few years, a political debate would emerge, questioning whether the triple lock was affordable, sustainable, or fair to working-age taxpayers. Some think tanks and economists argued for replacing it with a double lock, removing the 2.5% guarantee. Others suggested means-testing pension uprating, or linking it to a broader economic index that might deliver smaller increases. The fact that the government has now moved to enshrine the triple lock in statute rather than weaken it is a significant statement of intent. It signals that there is a political consensus, at least for the foreseeable future, that the state pension must be protected in real terms. For you, as a pensioner, this means greater long-term certainty about what you can expect from your pension going forward. There is also a philosophical shift embedded in this legislation. For decades, state pension policy in the UK operated on the understanding that the pension was essentially a welfare benefit, something the state provided as a safety net, and therefore something the state could adjust relatively freely. The new legal framework starts to treat the state pension more like a contractual entitlement, something you paid into through your working life via national insurance, and something you are therefore owed in return. That distinction matters enormously for how future governments can and cannot treat this benefit. The legislation also contains new provisions around transparency. DWP will now be required to publish annual reports specifically addressing the adequacy of the state pension, meaning whether the pension is actually providing enough income for pensioners to meet their essential living costs. Critics of the current system have long argued that even the full new state pension falls short of what is needed for a genuinely comfortable retirement without additional savings. And this reporting requirement at least forces the issue onto the official record. Furthermore, and this is something you will not have heard much about in mainstream news, the new law includes provisions that affect how pension entitlement is treated during benefit reviews. If you receive other DWP benefits alongside your state pension, such as attendance allowance, personal independence payment or PIP at pension age, or housing benefit, the new legislative framework includes clearer rules about how these interact, and specifically, it limits the circumstances under which DWP can claw back state pension income as an offset against other benefits without proper notification and a right to challenge. We need to spend real time on this because the underpayment scandal is one of the most important and most underreported pension stories of the past decade, and the new law directly addresses accountability around it. Let us be clear about what happened. Over many years, the Department for Work and Pensions failed to properly apply the rules around state pension entitlement for certain groups of people. The main groups affected were married women whose husbands had already claimed their state pension. These women should have had their pension automatically uprated to 60% of their husband's basic state pension, but in thousands of cases this did not happen. Widows who should have inherited their late husband's pension entitlement, again, this did not always occur as it should have. People over the age of 80 who should have received a Category D pension top-up, and some divorced women who were entitled to use their ex-husband's national insurance record. The National Audit Office estimated the total cost of these underpayments at over £1 billion. Individual underpayments range from a few £100s to, in some cases, tens of thousands. DWP has been writing to affected pensioners with back payments, but the programme has been slow and many people who are owed money have not yet been contacted. The new legislation sets out that DWP must complete its underpayment correction exercise by a specific deadline and must proactively identify those still owed money rather than waiting for people to come forward. This is a meaningful change because the reality is that many elderly pensioners do not know they are owed anything, do not know who to contact, and find the process of challenging DWP intimidating. So what should you do if you think you might be affected? First, check your current weekly state pension amount. You can do this by looking at your most recent DWP award letter, checking your online personal tax account at the HMRC website, or calling the Pension Service on 0800 731 0469. If you are a married woman and your pension is significantly less than 60% of what your husband receives, that may be a problem. If you are a widow and your pension did not increase when your husband passed away, that may be a problem. If you are over 80 and you are not receiving at least the minimum Category D rate, that may be a problem. Write to DWP formally. Keep copies of everything, and if necessary, contact a welfare rights organisation or Citizens Advice Bureau who can assist you in making a formal complaint or appeal. Under the new law, your right to challenge an incorrect pension calculation is strengthened, and DWP is now legally required to respond within set timeframes. There is one topic in the broader pension landscape that we would be remiss not to address, because it is something that will affect people approaching retirement age in the coming years, and the new legislation has indirect but important implications for it. The state pension age is currently 66 for both men and women. Under previously legislated plans, the state pension age was set to rise to 67 between 2026 and 2028, affecting those born between April 1960 and April 1977. And there had been talk of a further rise to 68 potentially being brought forward from 2044 to the late 2030s. The new legislation does not change the scheduled rise to 67. That remains in law. However, it does formally require an independent review with published findings before any further rise to 68 can be implemented. This is a safeguard against pension age increases being pushed through without proper public scrutiny. Campaigners had been pushing for this for years, pointing to the significant impact on those in physically demanding jobs or with health conditions who struggle to work into their late 60s. If you are currently 65 or 66, this does not affect your pension. You are already in the system. But if you have family members, children, grandchildren, approaching their 50s or 60s, this is information worth sharing with them. The landscape of when they can access their state pension is still evolving. One other thing that the new legislation touches on, the automatic enrolment system for workplace pensions. While this is more relevant to working-age people, it has a downstream effect on pensioners whose family members are still in work. The minimum contribution rates under auto-enrolment are being reviewed, and there are proposals within the broader pension reform framework to lower the minimum age threshold and include more lower-paid workers. This means future pensioners, including your children or grandchildren, should be building up a better private pension entitlement to sit alongside their state pension. We have covered a lot of ground. Now let us bring it all together with exactly what you should be doing as a result of everything we have discussed. The very first thing you should do today, if possible, is confirm your current state pension entitlement. Do you know your exact weekly pension figure? Do you know whether you are on the new state pension or the basic state pension? Do you know whether you have the full entitlement or a reduced one based on your national insurance record? If you are not certain about any of these things, contact the Pension Service. The number is 0800 731 0469 and it is free to call. You can also check your state pension forecast online through the Government Gateway at the gov.uk website. Just search for Check Your State Pension. The second thing, check whether you might be entitled to pension credit. This is, as we said, massively underclaimed. Even if you think your income is above the threshold, it is worth checking because the calculation takes into account various costs and circumstances. You can use the pension credit calculator on the gov.uk website or call the pension credit claim line on 0800 991 1234. Third, if you are a widow, a married woman receiving less than you expect, or someone over 80, specifically ask DWP whether your pension has been subject to any underpayment review. Be direct about it. Ask them to check your record going back to when you first became entitled. Request written confirmation of their findings. Fourth, make sure your address and contact details with DWP are up to date. Under the new legal requirements around communication, DWP is obligated to notify you in writing about changes affecting your pension. But they can only do that if they have the correct address for you. If you have moved in recent years and did not update DWP, do it now. Fifth, if you are approaching the state pension age and have not yet checked your national insurance record for gaps, do so immediately. You may be able to make voluntary national insurance contributions to fill gaps in your record and boost your eventual pension entitlement. The window for making voluntary contributions for certain older tax years is time-limited, and missing it could cost you hundreds of pounds per year in reduced pension for the rest of your life. Check your NI record through the Government Gateway and speak to HMRC if you identify gaps. No legislation is without its critics, and we think it is important to give you a complete and honest picture, not just the headlines. Some pension experts and campaigners have welcomed the triple lock enshrinement, but argue it does not go far enough. They point out that even with regular triple lock increases, the UK state pension remains one of the least generous among comparable developed nations as a proportion of average earnings. The OECD has highlighted this in several reports. While the new law protects what we have, it does not fundamentally close the gap between the UK pension and, say, the Danish or Dutch pension system, which provides significantly more generous retirement income as a percentage of working wages. There are also concerns raised by some economists about the long-term fiscal sustainability of the triple lock in its current form. The UK has an ageing population. There are more pensioners as a proportion of the total population than at any previous point in British history, and that proportion is growing. Some argue that guaranteeing ever-increasing pension payments to a growing pensioner population funded by a proportionately smaller working-age population will eventually become unsustainable without tax rises or cuts elsewhere. Advocacy groups representing women who were particularly affected by pension age changes, particularly the WASPI campaign, have continued to argue that women born in the 1950s were inadequately informed about changes to their state pension age and deserve compensation. The new legislation has not provided for WASPI compensation in the way the campaign hoped, and this remains a live and deeply felt grievance. We share these perspectives with you not to undermine the positive aspects of this new law, but because you deserve the full picture. This legislation is a step forward. It is real, it is legally binding, and it provides genuine new protections. But the broader fight for a fairer, more adequate pension system in the UK is not over. So let us bring everything together. The new UK state pension law that has just been passed is real, it is significant, and it directly affects you if you are a pensioner in the United Kingdom. The triple lock is now enshrined in statute, giving it greater legal protection than ever before. Your pension will increase from April 2026 by approximately 4.1%. That is over £470 more per year for someone on the full new state pension. DWP has new legal obligations to correct historical underpayments and to communicate with you properly. And your rights to challenge incorrect pension calculations have been strengthened. The state pension is not charity. It is not a handout. It is something you earned through decades of work, through national insurance contributions made year after year, through paying into a system with the expectation that it would be there for you when you needed it. This new law is, in part, an acknowledgement of that. It is the government putting its legal name to the promise that your pension will be honoured and protected. If this video has helped you understand what is happening with your pension, please share it with someone you know who might need this information: an elderly neighbour, a parent or grandparent, a friend who you know has been worried about their pension. The more people who have access to accurate, clear information about their entitlements, the better off the pensioner community as a whole will be. If you have questions about your specific situation, drop them in the comments below. We read every one, and we do our best to point you in the right direction. If you found this video useful, the subscribe button keeps you up to date every time something important changes in the world of UK state pension and benefits. Your pension matters, your rights matter, and you deserve to know exactly where you stand.